In the grand old annals of gaming, one of the most fun and refreshing is that of the two-player experience, where you can grab a mate, slap some silly buggers around, and then argue about which character is probably H in Line of Duty. It's driving us insane. We demand answers, please. So who wouldn't want to know what some of the best two-player PS4 games are? Luckily, this gameplay feature hasn't just survived since we were wee ones, it's thrived. Today, online multiplayer means you don't even have to be in the same room to enjoy the perks of competitive play, even if couch co-op still sometimes feels like the gold standard. You'll find a lot to love here, so grab the BT to your Cooper and watch on. Bear in mind that all of these games will also work on PS5 thanks to backwards compatibility. Before then though, if you could slap the like and like the subscribe, you'll be a player to our hearts. Love us! 10. Guacamelee 2. Maybe it's just us, but Guacamelee 1 and 2 seem to be getting left out of a lot of conversations when it comes to great indie games these days. We can't have that. One of the early breakouts of the indie revolution, Guacamelee matched charming character design with a silly sense of game industry humour to make for one of the most memorable Metroidvanias of all time. Focusing its humour on meme culture and video game tropes, Guacamelee 2 is even goofier than its predecessor. If the fun factor alone weren't enough, the platforming and level design are considerably better in the sequel. Between the laughs the game generates and the overall joy of its gameplay, Guacamelee 2 is sure to leave you in a good mood after every session. 9. Don't Starve Together. Don't Starve, a game forever tied to the PS4 as one of its first ever games, isn't going to starve you for fun with a friend. Set in an alternate dimension, Cly Entertainment's Don't Starve set the player as a scientist trapped in a daunting new world of fearful creatures and mysterious circumstances. Forced to adapt or die, players enter a randomly generated world where they must keep their character warm, fed, and sane. The free update Don't Starve Together spices things up by allowing two players to work together in hopes of doubling their chances of survival. Hunt, build, forage, and dread the fall of night with a friend to keep the pressure of Don't Starve's frantic gameplay at bay, if only for a little bit longer. 8. Diablo 3. Blizzard's seemingly immortal dungeon crawling hack and slash hit was destined for a list like this. After all, its progenitor Diablo 2 was one of the earliest co-op dungeon crawlers to allow gamers to slaughter monsters and explore desolate ruins without having to be in the same room. Today, Diablo 3 is still occasionally updated with new content, meaning you and your pal of choice will never run out of dungeons to explore, loot to collect, and bosses to take down together. If you just want your two-player PS4 games to be simple hack and slash fun, look no further. And when we say simple, we mean turn yourselves on absolute autopilot, maybe talk about how nobody talks about Game of Thrones anymore despite it basically being all of pop culture at one point. Seriously, what happened there? Oh yeah, Season 8, yeesh. 7. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game. It's still absolutely bonkers to us that this game came out again after being consigned to, basically, the legal bin for licensed games. That's where you can also find 007 Legends, but honestly that one is probably a blessing. The classic beat 'em up is one of the oldest and best forms of co-op gaming. This is a factor Ubisoft was obviously banking on with their adaptation of Edgar Wright's cult classic tie-in based on the movie of the same name. Featuring the beloved characters, geeky sense of humour and the graphic novel's art style, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World the game is a total blast to rip through. Playable with up to 3 friends, Scott Pilgrim has recently been updated and re-released with all of its original DLC included, making the deal sweeter than ever for this one. 6. Knights and Bikes. First there was boats and hoes, now there's knights and bikes. What next? Cultured Vultures and 10k YouTube subscribers? That would be the day. Knights and Bikes' behind the scenes story is as charming as the game itself. Crowdfunded on Kickstarter and developed by veterans of other popular games like Tearaway and Ratchet & Clank, Knights and Bikes is the little game that could, and it has earned every ounce of goodwill that has come its way. This co-op action game doesn't just feature fun gameplay, but also offers a pleasing art style and a great soundtrack to boot. A real total package kind of deal. Nights and Bikes may be short, but it will undoubtedly leave a nostalgic and meaningful impact on anyone who plays it. 5. Rayman Legends. Ubisoft's Rayman series has long stood in the shadow of more prominent platforming franchises, and it's an absolute shame, and shame on Ubisoft for keeping the limbless one locked away for so long. With its gorgeous artwork, creative design and adrenaline-pumping gameplay, Rayman Legends serves as the ultimate example of what this series is capable of. Further, Rayman Legends offers new daily and weekly challenges and a competitive sports arena to play around in. Few platformers can compare with it, particularly on the PS4. The blistering madcap experience of trying to complete Legends' do-or-die stages with one or more friends adds a layer of insanity that makes it all the more refreshing. We hope Rayman comes back sometime soon, but if it's a gritty open-world game where you travel across a giant map in search for his missing joints, we give up on gaming. 4. Keep talking and nobody explodes. One of the most fabulous and bastardy, is bastardy even a word, ideas for a multiplayer game ever, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes absolutely requires another player to even experience its silliness. Giving one player the task of defusing a bomb and the other with the instructions for how each randomly generated bomb is built, the focus on communication as the clock ticks down is the key to the game's success. Based on the concept alone, Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes is formatted more like a board game than a video game, but this novelty is a strength here, making it one of the tensest and most fun games you could ever share with a friend. 3. Stardew Valley. Basically Lavender as a video game, Stardew Valley is the perfect PS4 game for 2 players if one of you doesn't crank 90s and injects G Fuel directly into your membrane. Cornered Ape's massively successful farming sim is the kind of game that will readily eat 100 hours for a single player. That's why adding in a pal makes Stardew Valley not just more fun, but also rewarding as well. Stardew Valley is a game best played with a roommate, kid, parent or spouse, as the more you play with your companion of choice, the more addictive its design becomes. One player can plant or harvest crops while the other digs for valuable resources at the mine, doubling your productivity and making it really feel like you're managing a farm with someone you love spending time with. 2. Overcooked. Another totally madcap experience. The zany action of Overcooked may only be confined to various increasingly elaborate kitchens, but it feels more like a life or death situation. The tension of the game is built on the notion that trying to manage and cook in a kitchen operated by only 2 people will grow increasingly difficult as time goes on. Naturally, it does. That's the fun of the game though, as the speed and energy required to keep up inevitably leads to mountains of dirty dishes and dangerous stove fires that must be put out before the next meals can be prepared. Overcooked is an absolute one-of-a-kind game that requires a friend to even have a sniff of making it past the first few levels. Or you and your friend can argue over your lack of organisation and end up suplexing each other across the room in anger. It's just one of those games, really. And at number 1, Rocket League. From free PS Plus game to one of the most beloved games of all time that can also make you feel like you're playing against the Space Jam Monstars when you go online, Rocket League is in a league of its own. The concept of using rocket-powered cars to play soccer is one that is so definitively a video game thing. Setting up to 8 players battling to bump and knock an oversized soccer ball into their opponent's goal is just as crazy and as silly as it sounds, and that's absolutely the point. One of the most enduring and beloved multiplayer games of all time, Rocket League is the kind of game that will have players battling it out for supremacy all afternoon, and you'd better believe they'll love every ridiculous second of its setting. Best of all, Rocket League is totally free, so even if your wallet is empty, you and your friends can still enjoy this one for ages. And there you have it, our list of the best PS4 2-player games. Did you enjoy the list? Did you agree? Is there anything you would have put in that you feel like we missed out? And of course, who the hell is H? Sign off in the comments down below and let us know. Please also check the other links on screen now, including the Twitter account and the Facebook account and the website of course, and please consider subscribing to the channel, liking the video, hitting that notification bell, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. But until then, cuckoo.